The SkiMo World Cup moves to the boundary of Eastern Europe and Western Asia in the nation of Azerbaijan for the first time in competition and round 2 of the World Cup. Beautiful sunny conditions over the Shahdag mountain, which will provide our field of play. Classed as an ecological paradise, an area of ancient glaciers, valleys and stunning mountain lakes. And it's new ground once again for the sport of ski mountaineering. The first year of Olympic qualification, SkiMo gears up to debut at the Olympic Winter Games of Milano Cortina in 2026. Well, it's not only perfect conditions for our competitors, the spectators will be able to bask in some beautiful sun as they watch the frantic and frenetic pace of ski mountaineering. And the course is laid out in front of us. On the right is the start line, heading through the diamonds. Then we've got a zigzag before the footpath, which is cut into 4 lanes. A steep climb. And then the ascent before returning on the downhill section, earning the downhill after that uphill climb on the left. 60 vertical meters for this Shahdag course, starting at an altitude of 1,440 meters and summiting at 1,500 meters. That first sprint will be 215 meters. So this is what we've got coming up for you. We will have the women's heats. Qualification has made some very interesting setups for our 5 heats in the women's. That'll be followed with the men's. Then we'll bring you the semi-finals and round things off with the finals in this second round of the ISMF World Cup series. Well, joining me, Lisa O'Sullivan, with an expert eye. I will tell you in a moment. We've got the World Cup rankings of just the one race before Christmas. Courchevel saw Emily Harrop of France dominating, Marianne Faton of Switzerland alongside her, and a great podium for Margot Ravenel, who isn't competing here in Azerbaijan, but who's absolutely delighted to make the podium and score her first points of the year in the first race of the year. And we will see many of these athletes competing today. Oriol Cardona-Col of Spain leads the way for the men. It was a great battle for him and Arnaud Thibault Anselme, maybe rethinking his strategy. Didn't quite go to plan for him in the final. It'll be interesting to see how he makes his trademark move through the field, potentially today. And all these competitors looking to improve their rankings with the hope of being one of the few to represent their country at the Olympic Games next year in Italy. Well, ski mountaineering has been around for a long time. It goes back to prehistoric times. Azerbaijan is our venue for the second round of the ISMF World Cup In 2025, the first year Olympic qualification will take place as the sport makes its debut at Milano Cortina in 2026. The sport of ski mountaineering has been around for a very long time, but perhaps only really recognised towards the end of the 19th century, but really getting into its stride. And now, as it's recognised as an Olympic sport, it's really drawing the eyes. So many of you joining us today, welcome. Let's hope we can make you fans of the ski mountaineering competition. As we take a look at the area with the athletes not all wrapped up too much, enjoying a little bit of the sunshine before competition gets underway in the heats. And this is our course for today. We've got a vertical meters of 60, starting at 1,440 meters, going up to 1,500 meters, an elevation gain of 68 meters. On the right, you can see the diamonds in green, the start at the bottom, the B section, or the yellow, that's the foot part, and then we've got the transition at the top, and the red is the downhill all the way down. Because ski mountaineering sprint competition has a little bit of everything chucked in to around 4 minutes of racing. Well, we started with the qualification series earlier today to reduce the field down to just 30 competitors. And that group will be further reduced. Now, I'm not going to do all the talking today. Alongside me, co-commentating, is the Spanish legend Mireia Miró, two-time world champion. Mireia, beautiful pictures we're seeing from Azerbaijan.
Hi Lisa, good morning, and hi everyone at home following us. Yeah, we have beautiful, beautiful pictures. For me, ski mountaineering.
I'm so sorry.
Sure.
I'm going to interrupt
Go
you
with
to
that.
talk our newbies through how ski mountaineering works. So this is the format for the sprint competition. It's going to be debuting at the Olympic Games next year. It's fast, technical. 30 athletes will go in 5 heats of 6. They start side by side, head up the slope, which narrows and widens. They'll have a little section with the skis on their shoulders, put the skis back on, and then they come back downhill in a race for the line. The first 2 over the line in each heat go through to the semi-finals, along with the 2 fastest lucky losers, and the finals made up of 2 fastest from the semi-finals, and then again the 2 lucky losers. The winner is the first over the line, so long as they don't pick up any penalties on the way. So we have our heats lined up for the women, and Mireia, we have got some really classy lineups in these heats today.
Yeah, I mean, every time I look at the heats, I say this athlete is strong, this one is strong, all of them are super strong. So what I like about the sprint race is that it's super open and we can see everything. So let's see who qualifies for the semi-final, but it's gonna be tough for all of them.
Yeah, and looking at Heat 1, which is about to get underway, we can see Emily Arop of France, Marta Garcia Ferres of Spain, Celia Perapesi and Johanna Heimer. All 4 of those could be in the final, but unfortunately, it's only the first 2 across the line that will be guaranteed a place, and then it's up to the 2 lucky losers. So potentially, this could be a very fast heat. As we take a look at the athletes in position. And we're underway in the second round of the ISMF World Cup in Azerbaijan. And we are looking at Johanna Heimer, who has strode out in front on the left in the grey as they head into the diamonds. They can go either way, right or left. They could even go right across, but it's Heimer who is choosing to stick to the right-hand side and take an early lead as she heads towards the second set of diamonds here. The Austrian is a mum of 2. She's got a 7-year-old and 5-year-old boys, but is absolutely desperate to represent Austria at the 2026 Olympic Games. So the qualification taken very, very seriously this year. Now, this is another interesting part of the court we've got coming up here, Maria, with this zigzag.
Yeah, this zigzag is super slippery, it's super steep, and the athletes need a super fine technique to don't slip here. As we can see, Joanna having some difficulties, Marta also behind. So it's a very technical race in such a short amount of time.
So we're into the first transition zone. You see the blue line marking that, and Johanna has placed herself very well, and she's decided to go over into part of the climb that is actually getting a little bit of sunlight.
Exactly, Joanna, that she has been the fastest time on the qualifiers, so she's here to demonstrate she's strong, that she's ready for podiums, that she's ready for the Olympics next year. Last year she did an amazing season, and this year she wants more.
So we've seen Emilie Arup make a real advance up there. It's side by side now, and another slight climb before we have the downhill. So the skins are still on the bottom of the skis, and this is a great performance from the Austrian. Johanna Hamer is really making her mark there, and Emilie Arup looking to get past on the outside and dominate there. But we've got Celia Perila-Pessi, and these three have broken away now. So two of these guaranteed a place in the semi-finals, but desperate to clock a quick time, the third finisher, to guarantee that place as a lucky loser as they move into the final transition zone.
Yeah, and this heat could be perfectly the final. The three of them are used to be on sprint finals, so what we are seeing here, it's an amazing battle with super high level that could be perfectly the final of the sprints.
And nearly all three of them off together. We see the skins being ripped off from underneath the skis. And what a great performance from Johanna Hamer. She really is making some great time up on the downhill part of this course, and safely, if she can stay upright. We've got a couple of little bumps, a couple of kickers here that could cause some problems if you don't get your timing right. But the Austrian is looking good for a place in the semi-finals, with the two French women following behind her. And it is Emilie Arup who gets that second qualification spot, and 0.4 of a second behind Hamer is Perila-Pessi. So job done for the Austrian, as we see Marta Garcia Ferres of no, she's already completed. We're actually having a look at I think that's Daria Zinchenko, who is looking to complete the race, but it is fast. We warned you. It is a lactic burn for the athletes. And that's the end of competition for Zinchenko. As just even longer. So this is our Kazakh athlete, Asim Nazarova, who is making a transition into ski mountaineering from ski orienteering. And that's one thing we see quite a lot, Maria, don't we? People who love to run, who love trail running, who love orienteering, finding their winter legs with a pair of skis on and carrying their sport into the winter.
Yes, I think that ski mountaineering, so everyone that practices mountain sports is attracted also to ski mountaineering in some way, and we see some people from trail running, from orienteering, joining ski mountaineering, because it's, for me, it's the best sport in the world. The feelings are amazing. You are outside in the mountain, and for sure the sprint race is super short and super tiring also to see. But there's also this ski mountaineering just for pleasure, that it's amazing to be able to move through the mountains up and down, and it's a very strong sense of freedom.
Ready to go with the second heat with another strong lineup. We're seeing this is another great. We've got a lot of young athletes coming through as well in competition, looking towards the Olympic Games, including Eva Matiewiczkova of the Czech Republic, and we are going to see a real battle. That is her, I think, just in the black on the left-hand side, the 19-year-old from Plzeň in the Czech Republic, as we see striding over here in the red. I think that is G. Lulu, who is one of the rather talented. No, she is further back.
Ana Alonso is now fighting with Eva. Ana Alonso, I recognize her well because she's from Spain, so I know her quite a lot. So it's Ana Alonso, Eva, and then behind Ana Alonso we have Elena Bonel, the three of them also. I mean, Eva, it's surprising us. She did the first time in the qualifier, still being U20 with 19 years old only. So I think that she's surprising us all. But these countries are testing. China also have very strong youth athletes, and everyone is getting ready for the Olympics. So Eva is just doing an amazing performance right now, both in the qualifiers and now on the first heat.
And that's her nearest the camera, with Lena Bonnel of France on the far side. But it is not all over after this foot park. We see them put the skis back on and climb again. Look at those glorious blue skies. Who wouldn't want to be on the mountain today?
Exactly. And we see that Ana Alonso had a problem because she was in the first three, but she had a problem on the transition. A sprint has these transition areas where they put on skis, off skis, on skis, and all that are super technical, and any little mistake can cause you to pass from to the semi-finals or not, or from the qualifiers to quarterfinals. It's just super exciting. This is why sprints are so exciting.
And it is a lactic burn. Great technique as our Czech competitor moves into the final transition zone. We'll see those skins getting ripped off. Not quite cleanly. Just losing a fraction of time. They have to be tucked inside that bib. Last thing they're allowed to do is pick up the poles. They can't pick them up before they're ready to go. And that has given Lena Bonnel of France, the 28-year-old from Saint-Jean-de-Maurienne, the opportunity to take the lead. Studied physiotherapy, a professional skimo athlete now, and she's enjoying the ride to the finish line. Lena Bonnel of France is all set to win the second heat. And she crosses the line in comfort. As we see, not quite sure what happened to Ana Alonso.
I just got the information that she lost the ski while putting them on the backpack. So she lost the ski, she had to stop, put them again, and this is a lot of precious time on a sprint race. That bad luck for her, because she was doing good, she's super strong. She also can be on the finals, she has been in many finals, but this is the sprint race and we can see her deception here. I'm sure, I know her very well, I'm sure she's quite deceived right now.
And coming in, Emma Cook-Clark, the Canadian, who is also new to ski mountaineering. So, heat 3. And again, we are seeing big names taking to the thing. Marianne Faton, one to watch. Tatiana Palla as well, of Germany. TB Dessen. It's all fast and furious. And that's a lovely smile there from the local Nazarene Garibova. Azerbaijani born, moved to the States as a child, returned in 2021. That's her closest to the camera. Absolutely loving life as part of the Azerbaijani ski mountaineering team. But we are looking at the athletes in the centre of the field because they have qualified fastest. They get to choose the position they want as they take their marks. Blue skies, beautiful snow, great conditions for heat 3 of the second round of the ISMF sprint competition in Azerbaijan, the Shahdag mountains, as we move into the diamond section, designed to slow the athletes down with the skins on their skis. And beautiful conditions.
Yeah, today the conditions are amazing. We see the sun slowly catching up the slope. And I think that when the sun is completely out, the conditions are even better. Like a little bit of sun, it's always good. With the shadow, the slope is very, very hard. Like the snow is super hard, a bit slippery, and this makes the conditions more difficult. And we see it a lot here in this part exactly. So with a bit of sun, the conditions of the track and of the slope will be better for the athletes.
Well, heading into the first transition, Iwona Januszczyk of Poland, described as the team mum for the Polish team. And she's hotly followed by Marianne Faton of Switzerland. And again, Januszczyk is a trail runner as well as a ski mountaineering. And all that summer training has turned those legs into sprint machines, working like pistons to get her up the mountain, as Marianne Faton, the 29-year-old from Neuchâtel, looks to pull up alongside Faton, second in the opening round at Courchevel. But that's a really strong performance from the pole.
Exactly. Let's not forget that Marianne Faton is world champion in sprint. So we are talking about a very strong woman, a very strong contender. So Janusz is doing an amazing job. Last year we already saw some really strong performances from her. So we are also seeing a very strong hit here. And they are all of them very strong. As I always say, it's not just the first one. They are all very strong, but the first one are very, very strong.
So the Swiss has moved into the lead, Marianne Faton, as we keep an eye on Janusz, and we've also got Tatiana Pala there.
Exactly.
Track cyclist.
Exactly. We see that in this heat, they are all very together. This is Thibaut Desailly, under 23, very young also. And we are going to see who comes in second, because they were very close and one from each other.
Yeah, it's a quick heat as well. So don't forget, we're seeing the first two over the line into the semi-final, but there will be two lucky losers. So the two fastest, whichever heats they come from, will also go through to the final. And it looks like Pala's moved into second place, behind Faton there. So great transition from Tatiana Pala. She goes into the semi-final. And something hasn't gone to plan for the pole.
Yeah, I think that Janusz has had a little problems, like difficulties on the last part. I think that the sprint, she did a very good start, but the second part has been harder for her. And there is where Paller has taken the opportunity to come in second. Even if we see that it's short race, for the athletes it's still long, and 3 minutes is quite a lot. So it's also the strategy on how you manage such a race. If you start faster, or you start just a bit slower and do the fastest second part.
Ready to go in what promises to be another fast heat, and right at the top there we see Serdan Yujiang of China, and she is definitely one to watch. Just 19 years old, part of the talent spotting program that China put in place ahead of the Beijing 2022 Olympic Winter Games. And beginning to make her name on the international stage. But this is a tough heat again. As we just wait for the clock. It's the fourth heat of the second round of the sprint competition at the ISMF.
Oof, and we have seen here, exactly, we have seen here a problem. She has lost her skin, so she's now stopping, going to take the skin and put it on the ski again. That's really bad luck. Sometimes it can happen, and for her it's over. So let's see the other contenders what they have to offer.
So on the right hand side we have Shahdag Yujiang, who is... No, I
We have
apologise,
Maria
actually that isn't, that's Maria Ordonez.
Exactly, Spanish also.
I'm seeing red.
Exactly. We have Maria Ordóñez in first, U23 athlete, also very young. So what we see in the sprint is that we have very young athletes doing super good performances. We have two U20s as Yuzi and Eva, that it's incredible that they are fighting with the best athletes in sprint senior category. And for example, Maria Ordóñez here, that it's also U23, and she's fighting to get a spot on the semifinals too.
So I think it might have been the Chinese athlete who had the problem with the skin, and it is Spain, Switzerland and Canada who are the top three currently in this, as we watch them climb the footpath using the poles to push those legs. I think the camera angle sometimes is making it deceptively flat. If you think about running up the stairs of the metro or the subway, feeling the burn, you might know a little bit. Of course, doing that at altitude adds another little dimension to it. Of course, these people are mountain animals, used to the altitude, Mireia.
Exactly. What they are doing is very, very difficult because the heart rate is so high. I mean, they are giving their best, and they arrive to a transition zone, and they have to be very technical, very fine. And it's very, very difficult what we see here. So having such a heart rate that you usually train on high altitudes to be able to also perform in these altitudes, you train at similar altitudes, but also arriving to a transition zone that you need such a fine job to do them well. So they are amazing athletes, very complete athletes, all the sprint racers.
So long as there are no problems, we could be looking at the two progressing to the semi-final, but that will not be decided until they're over the line and have been cleared of not causing any penalties and picking up any time penalties.
Exactly, it's truly a pity for Yuzi, because the Chinese athlete, because I really wanted to see her on action, and it's a pity that an athlete is out of the competition because a loss of a skin or a problem like that. But she's very young, and I'm sure that you will have many other opportunities to see her in full action, and she has a very strong potential.
And no need to overdo it, because it is Switzerland's Debra Chiarello-Marti and it is Maria Ordóñez Corbacho of Spain who progress through, and I'm not sure that time is going to be quick enough for Anna Tibor to make it through to the semi-finals, but we will wait and see to get confirmation of that. Yeah, disappointment there for the 19-year-old from China who completes.
I think it's experience that she will learn from that, and as I say, when they are so young, with so much potential, I think that we will see her in next races very strong.
To the final heat, and again we have a very fast Chinese qualifier, Suolang Chuyen, 21 years old, fourth at the Youth Olympic Games in Lausanne. Alexandra Schmidt of Switzerland. We have Rhea Kobel and the legend, the Slovakian legend, Mariana Jegorčíková, who was the first ever Slovak SkiMo World Champion. And we'll be keeping an eye on her because although she's 39 years old, she is still competing like the youngsters. And here we go. This is the final 6 competitors in the women's competition looking to book a place in the semi-finals. And on the right-hand side, in the black, is Suolang Chuyen of China, as we see them looking almost convivial, having a little chat with each other maybe as they run up the mountain. Not, I think.
I'm not sure about that.
It does look so friendly, and that's competition is high. So
Exactly.
China are ahead of Mariana Yegachkova. That's her in the blue and white, taking the corner, using all her experience to try and get herself into the premium position in this transition as they get those skis off and head up the mountain.
Mariana, that as you were saying, it's amazing to see a 39-year-old athlete performing so well in a sprint race that it's so short, that we see so many youth in front. So she's really my idol. Wow, it's a big wow what she's doing.
There is 18 years difference between the first two competitors here, as Shualang Chuyen makes it to the top, 21 years old. She's a distance runner and basketball before she took up ski mountaineering, and again was talent spotted as part of the Chinese push to improve winter sport participation in Beijing ahead of the Winter Games in 2022. And they succeeded in their attempt to get 300 million people in China competing in winter sports. She's worked as a shepherdess when she was a child, and comes from Xizhong or Tibet, part of China. And this is a real great picture of young and old, the future and the history of the sport almost in one shot, as we see the 21-year-old transition ready for the downhill.
It's really incredible what the Chinese are doing in such a short amount of time. In the last few years, they've got competitors that we are seeing, Yuzin, Sulang Xin, super strong, very clean on the transitions, very clean, very strong on the uphills, on the podiums. It's just amazing what the Chinese team has been doing these last years and how they have highlighted these athletes on the top of the sport.
Looking at her technique coming down as well, we see a lot of trail runners, we see a lot of athletes who aren't natural skiers coming into ski mountaineering, and sometimes the downhill part is the trickiest part for them on these particular skis, as well as she comes through to complete and book her place in the semi-final alongside Mariana Yegachkova of Slovakia, the 21-year-old and the 39-year-old.
That's super beautiful. That's super beautiful to see this age gap, first and second. For me, it's incredible.
Varvara Prokhorova, who is an obstacle course racer during the summer and a roller skier. First person to scale Mount Elbrus on cross-country skis, and will not progress to the semi-finals.
I think that many athletes here now are gaining experience. In this World Cup, I think that we have 26 countries, so we have athletes from a lot of countries for a winter sport, because winter sport you need the snow to practice it. So we have some athletes that are gaining experience. I'm sure that some of those athletes in the upcoming few years, some of those countries that maybe they are not on the super top positions now, we will see them on few years battling for podiums and to be on the final. And it's just the progression of the sport, a natural progression. And there are so many countries doing such a good job. They just need a bit of time to see all the work they are doing now.
So that is the heats of the women's competition complete. And we'll just take a small breath before we crack on with the men, and we'll have a little look and have confirmation. It's not always wise to look too far ahead to see who has qualified in case penalties have been incurred, and we saw those blue lines in the snow. If you're new to ski mountaineering, the transition zones have multiple rules, and time penalties can be picked up if any of those rules have been broken. So we will keep our powder dry until we know for sure everybody has completed as they should.
Exactly, and to make it sure from home, to make it easy from home, transition zones, all athletes have to do it between the two blue lines that we see. That's the easiest way to understand transition zones.
So we get to look back over Heat 1, and it was a good competition between the top three in this. There we go, and I can have a little look to see who has qualified. And I think Celia Perrier-Pessé has booked her place in that semi-final as one of the so-called lucky losers, so one of the faster finishes. But we'll get, as I say, confident. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Definitely it was a very strong hit, and Celia did a very, very good time, final time. So let's not get ahead, but I agree with you that I would say that she also is in the semi-finals.
Well, this course is proving really, really great to watch, especially with that particular zigzag turn there. Not quite a kick turn for the athletes, not a smooth one because it's right on the corner. It's quite a steep slope as they turn right to continue their way up.
We've seen many athletes like having some problems there. So yeah, it's definitely one of the most technical parts of this sprint and difficult to manage. But as the sun will come out, it will get a bit easier as the snow won't be that hard.
So we move on to the men's competition. And we're having a little look at the qualifying here.
We have two Swiss, first and second, with two Spanish, Ott and Inigo, third and fourth. That's a very strong hit because it's John Kissler, Inigo, Ott, and one of the Bussards, I think. Let's check it. But they were all on the last World Cup final. So again, this hit could be perfectly the final from today.
We have Loic Dubois of Switzerland tucked in there as well. And let's see how we're doing. John Kissler, again, this is the youth coming through. I think the lure of an Olympic medal has really brought out the fighting spirit in some of the younger athletes. Ott Ferrer is on the left. Just worth pointing out as well, the competition for Olympic place is extra fierce. There's only one representative from each nation will take to the line in 2026 in the sprint competition. And this is a great heat. We can see Kissler, Martinez de Albanos, Ferrer, and pretty much neck and neck.
Any little mistake here and it's over because they are the four of them super close to each other.
Oh,
wow, we see Ott here.
You called it.
And sorry Ott, I'm super sorry about that.
Well, that's just a little tangle of skis. It's the natural way of racing when you're in close quarters. But John Kissler is doing a great job out in front, staying calm with the number 4 on his legs. His first down the slope, but these downhills can be rapid. And we have the downhill specialists.
We have Inigo Martinez in second, and Ott, I think, that in third. Inigo, that is a beast on the downhill. He's super, super strong. And Ott, that has had this problem, but we still, if he fights until the finish line, we still have the lucky losers where he has the possibility to get into the semi-finals.
There we go. So 2.9 slower than John Kissler, who has won the heat. And Inigo Martinez, the Arnaud, in second place. Those two guaranteed a place in the semi-final. Ferrer will have to wait.
Exactly, as John Kissler and Ot Martinez, that both of them are U23, so they are very young, both of them. Also a lot of potential, and doing super good results and performances already on the senior category.
So heat 2. And we've got big names looking to make their mark and book a place in the semi-finals in Shahdag, the second round of the ISMF World Cup for 2025. Thibaut Anselmet, Matteo Favre, and Robin Galindo as well of France. That's Thibaut Anselmet. And in the red, we have Matteo Favre. Number 20 is Finn Hosch of Germany. And Ivan Arnold of Switzerland. Sorry, Ewan Arnold of Switzerland in the red, number 47. And we have that 30-second notification for the athletes, so they know the clock is counting and they're ready to go. And we have that board that drops as well, a bit like you see in snowboard cross. Prevents anybody getting a false start. We are underway in Heat 3. I think Ivan Arnold will be kicking me getting his name wrong, but we'll get there in the end. And it's a great start from Finn Hosch of Germany. Striding out, taking the right-hand lane through this set of diamonds. And as is often the case, we see Thibaut Anselmet right at the back, staying out of trouble. That was a tactic that didn't work too well for him in Courchevel, Maria.
Yes, it has worked very well for him other times because he's super fast and super clean on the transitions, and usually he does a second part of the sprint stronger than the first part. So we will see if in this second part he can get into these two places that get you directly to the semi-finals, because he's a really strong athlete and he has many sprint podiums and definitely he's very strong.
I think we'll see him come into picture. There we are on the right hand side. He was 6.9 seconds behind the leader at that transition and has clawed back nearly 2 as a little slip slows up the German. Finn Hosch doing a great job at the front of the field in this second of the men's heats.
So all the athletes are also very close in this heat, as we can see, so everything will be decided on this last transition, that everything goes well, and so everything is still open.
Finn Hosch of Germany leads the way, looking to book his place in the semi-finals. Just needs to keep it clean, avoid any unwanted lack of control on these skis that are not entirely designed for downhill. They do a little bit of everything in ski mountaineering. but he will be very pleased with that performance as the scramble for the next place goes to Ivan Arnold of Switzerland, and Thibaut Anselmet. He's going to have to wait and see if that time is quick enough to bring him into the final.
This was very, very close between Ivan and Thibaut, but very, very close. So let's see if Thibaut will get into the finals through the lucky losers or not. But
Well,
I'm
at the
very
moment,
happy. Yeah,
I was going to say, just looking at the time, Ott Ferrer's time was 2:33.2 and Thibaut was 0.6. So Ferrer quicker. Will anyone go quicker than Thibaut Anselmet from here on in?
Let's see. Let's see. I'm very happy
Heat three.
for
Heat three, we're on to.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're on to one of the twins, Robin Boussard of Switzerland. Can you tell the Boussard boys apart?
Me, definitely no.
I don't know anyone who can, and we see this in sport sometimes, that they very kindly will wear slightly different clothing, and sometimes they don't.
And particularly, they have a very similar technique also. So it's not that you can differentiate them on the technique, because they look very, very similar also.
So the athletes have come through qualifying as we take a look at Robin Boussard this morning, just to guarantee themselves a place in the heats. The top 30 come through qualifying. That is Biel Puyol Paramont of Spain. And that is the world number one, Oriol Cardona Cole, and Paul Verbignac. Now this is going to be another interesting heat. No slips. They could be very, very costly in this heat. Well, we're underway. First two over the line, guaranteed a place in the semi-finals. And then it goes to the clock to find the two quickest from the 5 heats to join them. And it is a real scramble, you feel. Mireia Miro, who is a 2-time world champion, joining us here with the commentary.
Yeah, it's a very, I mean, all heats are very exciting. They all, a sprint race, they all go together a lot. So we'll see. Here we have Oriol, we have Thomas, that he have a lot of experience. We have also Biel, that it's a U23 from Spain that has less experience. So let's see how they manage. Paul, I mean, we have a lot of serious athletes here.
And that is a good transition from Robin Boussard of Switzerland. And that was a brilliant transition by Cardona, who has moved right up alongside now.
Exactly, and Oriol Cardona, that we can see that he has one foot outside the track and one inside, because he feels more comfortable going that way. So sometimes they use the track and sometimes they prefer to go a bit outside the track. Oriol Cardona is very, very strong on the foot parts, and but now he's still in second after Robin Boussard.
Carving his own way up the field, but Boussard really looking very comfortable on the mountain today.
He's giving everything he has now. It's the last part before the last transition, and we see their faces with that they are doing a very strong effort. And yeah, we see the transition now, super fast, super clean. It has been a super well transition from Robin Boussard, very fast and very clean.
And he has the honour of winning the first Olympic medal, well, being the Youth Olympic Games champion of ski mountaineering from Lausanne 2022. So, very talented junior, 22 years old as well. There's a twin brother Thomas. But it's Robin who is booking his place comfortably in the semi-final. Just has a little look behind, check who's behind him, and those two can rest up. And I think that third place is not going to be quick enough for a place in the semi-finals. But as always, we wait for official confirmation and verification of the races. And for potentially 4 of those athletes, their time on the mountain today is over. Jeremy Anselme among the contenders in Heat 4 of the sprint race from Shahdag in Azerbaijan, the ISMF World Cup Round 2. And just a chance to enjoy the sun for Felix Kramelsberger. Andreas Meyer in the grey. And we have Thomas Boussard. He's just seen his brother book a place in the semi-final. The number 9 there, Jeremy Anselme. And skip past Pablo Giner-Dalmasso of France. So 2 more French athletes in competition, along with Switzerland and I think Spain, one of the leading countries in the sport of ski mountaineering. A chance to slow the heart rate before it rockets up in this sprint race. And before that lactic acid starts to build. And the important thing for the heats is not only to qualify for the semi-final, but keep something in reserve for the semi-final and potentially the final. Race management, very, very important in ski mountaineering. Just listening into the announcements at the start of this sprint, this 4th sprint race for the men in the 2nd round of the ISMF. Oh, the diamond's taken a tumble. And it is Thomas Boussard who's trying to follow his brother into the semi-final over it on the left-hand side with the blue helmet in the red. And then we have closest to the camera Andreas Meyer of Austria.
Thomas and Robin don't make it easy for us. They dress exactly the same blue helmet, same technique. They make it really difficult.
We have the Yates brothers in cycling, and sometimes they'll very helpfully wear slightly different coloured socks, or maybe slightly different coloured sunglasses. But I think Thomas Boussard is definitely proving a point that there's more than one twin looking for a place in the semi-finals, but he is under pressure from both the French, and just a little slip at the top there. Jeremy Anselme coming into the picture alongside Pablo Giner-Dalmasso. And it is Anselme, another brother who is looking to join a sibling in the semi-finals. What a great competition it is here, stride for stride, the two in front. Boussard's not giving up easily as Pablo Giner-Dalmasso stays with him. And getting to that transition first, getting the skins off clean is important, undoing the bindings to get the skis into downhill mode. Everything needs to get safely stashed. And that's a great transition from Boussard, Maria.
Yeah, he has done a very clean transition. He had this little problem on the foot part, but after the foot part, he still had some energy to push again. He arrived with Pablo Gine the same time in the transition, and he did a very clean transition to be able to exit first, which if you exit first from the transition, it puts you in a great position for the downhill, because it's not easy to double someone on the downhill. So he really managed super well this problem on the foot part, which is not easy to manage when it's such a short race. Any little mistake mentally can take you out also of the race, but he stayed there, he fought it until the end, he did what he had to do, and finally he crossed the line, finish line first.
Thomas Boussard joins his brother in the semi-finals along with Pablo Giner, and Jeremy Asselmay is going to have to wait. That's very, very close to looking like qualifications. Potentially could put his brother out of the semi-finals. That would be an interesting family conversation over the dinner table later in Azerbaijan.
Yeah, one conversation that we don't want to be in.
And we move to the fifth and final heat. Still 2 automatic qualification places up for grabs. And we've got a whole host of Swiss and French competitors, including Arnaud Lieta. That's Arnaud Gassot in number 14. It's not easy to call who's going to come through to these semi-finals. It's not something you'd put your money on, Maria.
No, for sure. Arnaud Lieta is one of the favorites, but on the sprint race we've seen everything, so I'm not going to put money on anyone. I'm just going to wait until they finish.
And the clock stops, and we'll have a much clearer picture.
In this moment, it's a lot of tension, it's a lot of pressure. I think that as an athlete, it's one of the moments where you have most tension until the race starts.
So we talk about trying to keep the heart rate down. It can rocket up to more than 200 in race conditions. Heat 5 is underway. And it's Switzerland versus France. 3 Swiss, 2 French, competing for 2 places in the semi-finals, potentially more if this is a fast heat. They'll know what the time is to beat, I would have thought. Somebody may have whispered that in their ear.
Let's see, because everything is, everyone is so close to each other. So let's see what happens here. And we see here one of the athletes that has had a problem. He didn't do the turn well, and he got the ski. He got a problem with the ski. So we have one that it's, I would say that it's already out.
Arnaud Lieta leading the way, number 2, on his legs. And he starts the climb in the foot part, using those poles for every possible advantage, but that's a great sprint from Baptiste Elmenreich of France.
Arnaud Lieta, that it's one of, it's, I would say, with Oriol Cardona, they are the 2 dominating most this sprint discipline, and we have seen great battles between the 2 of them. For sure, there are a lot of other athletes super strong that they usually are in the finals or semi-finals, but if I would say who are the 2 strongest now, I would say that Oriol and Arnaud have, on these last years, have given us a lot of show and great battles between both of them.
Reaches the summit, 1,500 meters up, and gets the skis ready for their downhill transition 60 meters down in vertical meters. And here's a 265 meter in distance downhill.
So we have a very steep uphill, very fast, very steep, and the downhill is not that steep, it's a bit longer. Um, so, but at the end of the day, you have to do the same meter up and the same meters down, as the finish line is the same. So you have to do all the track up and down.
You have to earn your ride down. Into the semi-finals then for Arnaud Lieta, and ready to prepare for his place, but that was a close heat. Those times not necessarily quick enough, but it's Sautel of France who comes in with a time that has stopped at exactly the same as Elmenreich. So I'll let the jury decide which one of them progresses by rights. Other than that, I think the time won't be quick enough to go through as a lucky loser. So we're going to have a very close study of the photo finish for that one.
Yes, it's not. I mean, it's not. I mean, I'm not sure now, but I was gonna say it's not usual that we see two athletes at the same stop at the same exactly the same time. But I was thinking that yeah, sometimes it happens quite a lot actually. So let's wait for the photo finish.
So that is the heats complete, and we will move on to the semi-finals as we can take stock of the course. The course is proving to be really interesting. One thing we haven't spoken about, Mireia, is we have the two diamonds, and then we have that transition across to the zigzag. And I'm wondering if the athletes who are coming at it from the left-hand side and have a straight run for the corner are perhaps getting a better go at it to get in position for that first turn.
In a sprint race, these turns are so short and everything is so close that I'm not sure that it's a big advantage actually. It's a very slight difference. So I wouldn't venture myself to say that it's making a very big difference. But for sure it's something that you have to manage, because as you say, when you get into the diamonds, you only have one person on the right and one person on the left. So if you don't get first there, first or second, that you can choose one side or the other, it's very important to choose which side you go, that the person in front of you doesn't slow you down.
We can see now qualifiers for the women's semi-final, and it is Celia Peria-Pese and Januzic of Poland who come through as the lucky losers. So the hard work paying off for those two. As we look to get our notes back in order. And let's get confirmation of the men is Thibaut Ensommet and Ott Ferrer, who come through as the lucky losers in the men's race. And we have our lineup for the semi-finals, which will follow very shortly.
You had a good eye here with Celia Perillat going into the semi-finals, and also Thibaut Ensommet.
Hooray! Hooray for timing screens and maths. Well, we've got a couple of minutes, Mireia, to have a little chat about the fact that it is an historic year for ski mountaineering, the first year of Olympic qualification, and the opportunity for athletes to represent their country at an Olympic Winter Games. I mean, it's not something you were able to do in your career because it wasn't on the schedule, but how important do you think it is to the athletes as we watch, enjoy the highlights again of the qualifications. How important do you think it is for the athletes? How much do you think that is a spur to their competitions this year?
I think that ski mountaineering getting into the Olympics has been a very important moment for the sport, and I think that it has pushed the sport in new countries and also has given opportunities to the athletes to be more professional than before ski mountaineering got into the Olympics. So, as first year on the Olympics, I think that everyone is working super hard to try to be at the top on the different levels, from the organizers to the athletes, and it's very exciting to see, because for example on a sprint like this one today, we have a lot of athletes competing. We had many athletes on the qualifications, 30 and 30 on the heats, and we are seeing great battles. So I think that it has been very good for the development of the sport and of the opportunities of these athletes to become more professional and have a good opportunity to live from ski mountaineering professionally. Let's see how the year goes, as it's everyone will qualify this year for the Olympics. An important thing is that they don't qualify, that they don't do points as individual athletes. They do points for the country, and then the country chooses which athlete will participate in the Olympics. So let's see how this system goes. But in the Olympics, we'll have the sprint race. That is the one that we are seeing right now. That it's very exciting because it's super short and a lot of things happens. And then we have the relay race that is also very exciting, quite short. It's teams made by one man and one woman, around 2 rounds each of 10-12 minutes. So we'll have 2 very dynamic races in the Olympics next year.
Yeah, the relay is exciting, and it is worth mentioning that, as you have pointed out, it's a quota system. The place goes to the country, and then it's up to the organising committee to decide who will go. So when we see countries, as we have done in other sports, in other Olympic categories, sometimes you have a nation that absolutely dominates and could take gold, silver and bronze. They will only have one athlete. There are 18 places for the women, 18 places for the men at the Olympic Games in Milan Cortina in total. So qualification is going to be fierce.
Totally. I was checking the Swiss Championship sprint results, and the first top 10 all could be able to go to the Olympics. So because Switzerland is one of these countries that has many top athletes.
So welcome to the semi-final stage of the sprint race, round 2 of the ISMF World Cup competition, coming from Shahdag in Azerbaijan. Absolutely beautiful racing conditions. The course is in perfect condition. It's great for the competitors and it's great for the spectators who are there. It's a landscape of ancient glaciers, beautiful mountain lakes, stunning scenery. And as we've seen, it has been great snow on the slopes, not necessarily everywhere around. Conditions have been relatively warm in the lead up to the competition, but the course we have for the sprint is absolutely perfection, and we've seen plenty to keep us interested in the less than 4 minute races, 3.5 minutes. Some of those races significantly quicker than that in the men's. I'm Lisa O'Sullivan. Alongside me, providing co-commentary, is Mireia Miro, 2-time world champion. Not necessarily a sprint specialist, but definitely a SkiMo specialist, and bringing her passion for ski mountaineering to us.
If I had to choose, I would choose individual races. I'm a very romantic athlete, but for sure I enjoy a lot watching the sprint races. It's for me personally, it's a very hard effort because they are so short, so many things happening in such a short amount of time that it's a bit stressing. So I like more individual races that you have more time, you don't have to stress that much, and you can like take more time and also enjoy a bit the surroundings.
Time to recap on any errors as we have a look at the rankings coming into this. Just one race before we came to Azerbaijan from Courchevel. Victory there for Oriol Cardona Cole of Spain. Arnaud Lieta and Thibaut Anselmet also joining him on the podium. And that's how the points stand at the early stage of the season. The points and rankings so important in this, an Olympic qualifying year.
We are now on the second Spring World Cup of the year. First one was in Courchevel in December. So we are very early still on the season, and a lot of movement can happen to this classment that we have seen. The season will go to April, so there's still a lot that can happen there.
And of course, it's a World Championship year as well. There'll be qualification by rights handed out to the champions at the World Championship. The qualification period or qualification criteria, if that's the kind of thing you're interested in, you can read about that on the Olympic.com channel, I believe. And the ISMF website also has all the details about ski mountaineering and how qualification is going to work, because of course some of you are brand new to ski mountaineering, and this is how it works. There's a little look at the course there. The green indicates the up bits, the red the down bits. 30 qualify by right, and they go into 5 heats of 6 athletes. So we see that go down to 6. They'll take to the line and they'll start side by side. They will climb on their skis. They'll take their skis off and go through a footpath, perhaps put their skis back on again to get to the summit, when they will downhill. The first 2 past the line in this semi-final will book themselves a place in the final, and then the 2 fastest losers from both semi-finals will make it up to 6 for the final run, and the winner will be the first past the line, so long as they don't pick up any penalties on the way. And we will keep an eye on all of that for you here. We hope you're enjoying our coverage, and we hope that the sport of ski mountaineering, whether it's a firm favourite or a new love, is something that you will enjoy with us. So here we go with the first of the women's semi-finals. That's Johanna Hamer of Austria. Was very strong in the opening heat in qualifying. Mother of 2. And she wants to represent her country at the Olympic Winter Games. Right alongside her is Lena Bonnel of France, 28 years old. She had a good run in Courchevel in the first race of the season. And then we have someone who knows a thing or two about being a sprint champion, Marine Faton of Switzerland. And then we have our French contingent, Emily Harrop, should I say. Mum and Dad are both English. She was born in the Tarentaise Valley. Represents France. She says she was born with bindings on her feet and poles in her hand. And this is another one of the young stars we see coming through. Eva Maciejowicz-Kova, who stepped up to the seniors, and Celia Perriat-Pesset. And you can never rule out what she can deliver. The 27-year-old always in that line of the favourites as they take to the line for this first semi-final. And a place in the final is guaranteed to the first 2 past the line. But the time will count too. So We are watching in the sunshine from Shahdag in Azerbaijan, the second round of the ISMF World Cup. And it's Emily Harrop of France on the right-hand side. Sticking to the right, she'll have a sharp turn to come, but she's ahead going into this zigzag, getting her skis into the track marks there, Mireia.
Yeah, and so the sprint race is very, very tricky because we see now Emily Harrop. So this is a very strong heat, so they have to you cannot leave energy for a possible final. You have to give everything, and it's very tricky because at the end of the day, if you qualify for the finals, you will need energy too. So so it's very tricky and very to manage the efforts on each heat. And for this, Emily Harrop is very good at it. She manages her efforts super good, and she's also very very clean on all the transitions and all the technique parts. She's a very complete athlete, Emily Harrop.
First to get her skis on after the foot part, and trotting again up the mountain, closely followed by Switzerland's Marianne Faton. And these two featuring on the podium regularly. Pretty much the 1 and 2 in the world when it comes to sprint skimo. They are the ones to beat. Lena Bonnel is the second French athlete we can see, and Peria Pesset just back there on the left, but it's Harrop who leads the way into the final transition, sets her bindings for the downhill, removes her skins in one fell swoop, puts them inside the bib, just a little slow picking up the, almost went without her poles, which she can't do. She needs her poles. That would pick up a penalty. But she's looking very comfortable coming down the downhill here. Emily Harrop moving on into the final. A very comfortable descent.
Emily Harrop that makes, she's a very good descender, and also she makes it look easy. But she's very, very strong on the descent. I wouldn't like to exit at the same time as Emily Harrop and be on a fight on a descent with her, because she's very strong.
So Marianne Faton takes the second place in the final. By rights, Célia Peria-Pesset is going to have to wait and see if her time is quick enough to qualify. She was quicker out of that final transition than teammate Lena Bonnel. Harrop and Faton guaranteed a place in the final.
Célia that already qualified for the semi-finals as a lucky loser from the quarterfinals. So let's see if she has also now good enough time to qualify for the finals through the lucky loser system.
You can see contenders in the second of our semi-finals. That's Ivana Januszczyk of Poland. Very strong in her heat. Germany's Tatiana Palla, putting all those cycling miles from her legs to good use on the uphills. That's Deborah Chiarello-Marti, 29-year-old from Switzerland. Shualang Chu-Yen, a 21-year-old from China. Mariana Jejčíková, the Grande Dame of skimo and of this semi-final, and Maria Ordonez Corbacho. I mean, it is another quality lineup, which is what you would expect at the top levels of ski mountaineering as they get ready to take their marks. And the list you see there is the qualification times a Polish competitor coming through as the lucky loser. Just a final few stretches. But actually enjoying brilliant conditions. Just stand on the start line, not having to huddle up against the cold. It was a bit hazy. There was snow in the air at Courchevel. Made it a little tricky to see at times for us watching at home. But there are no visibility issues at all in Shahdag in Azerbaijan, which is hosting an ISMF World Cup event for the first time. The second semi-final of the second round of the ISMF World Cup from Azerbaijan is underway. And again, a strong start from Ivona Janik of Poland on the left-hand side. Well, China's Shuolang Chu-jen is in the black and the red, perhaps slightly in front on the far side from the camera at the front as they head into the second set of diamonds. It's China versus Poland at the moment.
And let's see, Ivana, how she manages this heat. As on the previous one, quarterfinals, she did a very fast start. She had a bit more problems on the second part of the sprint. It seemed that it was getting a bit long for her, so let's see how she manages the semi-final and see if she can qualify for the final, or it's another athlete. We see Mariana that it's getting in second. Mariana that she's also very strong on the sprint races.
Shuolang Chu-jen is climbing, as all the athletes are. 60 meters is the vertical meters in this event, and at an altitude that she probably doesn't really mind too much, going up to 1,500 meters, but she's grown up on the slopes of the mountains in Tibet, or Xizang, and, you know, at 21 years old, she really is showing that ski mountaineering is a sport that she's taken to. Came over from being a distance runner and a basketball player, but is being challenged by Mariana Yegorchikova, the 39-year-old. She was second in the heat to the Chinese athlete, who's 18 years younger than her, and we see moving up into second place now. It is, I think that's Tatiana Pella, who has moved up into second.
Yeah, for one moment I thought that it was Maria Ordóñez, but no, Maria Ordóñez, Spanish, is in fifth, so it's Tatiana Paller that, again, as on the previous heat, she has done a very strong end of a sprint, and she has won some positions on this final part of the sprint.
Final transition then, and it is downhill all the way from here, with a brilliant performance again from Mariana Yegorchikova of Slovakia. Comfortably negotiating the downhill, no mistakes at this point. Textbook from the Slovak.
And it's not an easy downhill because we see that there's a little jump and there are a bit of bosses. So for Mariana, that now she's in front with some seconds of advantage, I think that she has managed downhill safely to secure this first place.
Well, this heat's very much slower than the first, and I think potentially might have both lucky losers coming from the first semi-final.
I think so, at least Celia for sure, yes. And the second one, I'm not sure now, but I think that there are possibilities that it's coming also from the first semi-final.
We'll count, use our fingers and toes to count, but definitely guaranteed a place in the last six. Mariana Yegorchikova of Slovakia and Tatiana Palla of Germany, both timing their push brilliantly to book themselves in the final.
We see here the sprint circuit that it seems short, but when we see it with the drone footage, it seems very long at the same time with the speed that they go to.
It's a testament to our athletes at how easy they make it look. And I suspect there are people watching this for the first time back home. I hope you're watching this back home and thinking, do you know, I might have a go at that. It looks all right. But for anyone who perhaps has been an alpine skier and dropped a ski or a pole and had to go back down the mountain and then find your way back up again, it's not quite as easy as it looks walking up a mountain, even if you do have skins underneath your skis. And we haven't really had a chance to talk about the technical side, Mireia, as well as we wait for the athletes to start for the men's semi-final, but which we will do. We won't talk about the technical stuff. We'll save that for later. Let's take a look at the start list for the men's semi-final with Robin Boussard, John Kissler, Finn Hosch, Inigo Martinez de Lobez, Ivan Arnold and Ott Ferrer coming through as the lucky loser of Spain. So 3 Swiss, 2 Spaniards and a German in the first of our 2 semi-final for the men's. And again, it's not one that you would easily call who's going to go through.
You can never say 100%, not in a sprint race.
The camera shots, and as you were mentioning, the drone shots do really give us a great opportunity to have a complete window on this sport. Nearly as good as theirs.
Exactly. Nowadays, with the live streams, I think that we are so lucky because we can follow a sport even better than from if you are there on the ground. And there are some sports that when I follow some races and I'm there, I also have on my phone the live stream because they are so well done that you can follow better the race.
Timings, beautiful pictures. Chance to actually see. I do love it when we have a very packed crowd along the side as well, cheering on family, friends, or just their favorite athletes as well, because that adds an extra element to the competition as well, especially if the weather's not particularly great and yet the fans are still out there having an incredible time in the snow.
Yes, even that if when you are an athlete and you are in the competition, you don't hear much and you don't differentiate much, but I think that as an athlete it's also heartwarming to have family and friends around and being there when you finish between heats. I think that as an athlete it's very special to have family and friends around when you are competing.
We are ready for the semi-final, the first of the men's semi-final in the second round of the ISMF World Cup series, coming to you from Shahdag in Azerbaijan, hosting a World Cup competition for the first time. As we see Ott Ferrer of Spain, he's on the side that will be nearest the camera as we take a look at the course, and Finn Hosch of Germany had a great run in his heat, had the slope to himself at the end. That's John Kissler, another one of the next gen, 21 years old. Inigo Martinez de Albornes of Spain. And Ivan Arnold of Switzerland. They are ready to race. And getting the timing right as the boards go down can add an extra second or two, going for the bee on bang. As the cliche has it, it's the men's first semi-final. in this race in Shahdag, Azerbaijan. And we have two Spaniards, a Swiss, a German, sorry, three Swiss in this race. So a sea of red on the white snow going through the green diamonds. And an early leader is Robin Boussard, who we know by the number 8 is Robin and not his twin brother Thomas. I think that's the way we tell them apart. Mireia?
Exactly. I think they even have the same gloves. We have to tell them to change something to differentiate them.
Put a big R or a big T as we see this brilliant, look at this, side-by-side racing up the mountain. That is spectacular.
Wow, they are super close from each other. This semi-final, the level is very similar because Inigo Ott, John Kisler and Robin Boussard, they were on the last World Cup sprint finals, the four of them. So they have a very big level, and we can see it here that they will arrive, the four of them, together to the last transition, taking the skins off. So the last transition will be crucial for the results of this semi-final.
Inigo Martinez del Boz is the old man here, 28 years old, the rest 22 or younger, and it is going to be Robin Boussard who is first to head down the hill. Underway, in control, and clear at the moment, unless we see some rapid descent behind him, which first two only guaranteed a place in the final. This is the first of the semi-finals. It's Boussard who is going to come home ahead of the Spaniard. Yes. 0.1 of a second. John Kisler 0.5 further back. So 2:27.9 is the time to beat for the lucky losers in the next heat. Will it be good enough to put Kisler into the last 6?
Let's see who are the lucky losers, but this is very, very close all the times here.
Great racing on the mountain today. We have our second semi-final all set, and it is Thomas Boussard of Switzerland who will look to join his brother in the last 6. Oh, he's got a big ask though, because there is Lieta of Switzerland, Cardona Coll of Spain in his heat. He has Pablo Giner, Florian Sautel making up the race, along with Thibaut Anselmet. So this really couldn't be more difficult for any of them to guarantee a place in the final, as we see Thomas Boussard, fastest qualifier for the semi-final, take his place centre stage with Arnaud Lieta moving to his right. 26 years old. Making the sprint competition his own. Although this man, 30 years old, has something to say about it. 28 career wins for Aurélien Cardona. That is Pablo Giner of France. Thibaut Anselmet in the lane nearest the lineup camera, which will be left as we look at the picture. And Florian Sautel makes up the trio of Frenchmen in this final, semi-final. I'm getting ahead of myself. This is the second semi-final.
It could also be the final for the level of the athletes here.
Quality's that good. Really specialised equipment for ski mountaineering. You won't see that in the hire shop as you pop out to learn how to ski, necessarily.
I don't recommend to start skiing with ski mountaineering skis, like competition skis for ski mountaineering.
It looks like you're skiing on high heels in ice with a wobbly heel.
I think
very,
it would
very
be
narrow and very light. Oh, craziness.
I think it would be a very bad downhill experience.
Yeah. We're ready. Just 2 places guaranteed in the final for this 6, but if they're quick enough, they could go through as one of the 2 lucky losers, or 2 of the lucky losers potentially. And it's all to go for in this second round of the ISMF sprint competition in the World Cup. A little change of position there from...
It's true, Oriol Cardona and Thomas Boussard. We had on one side Arnaud Liera that we see now on screen first, and the other side Oriol Cardona, and Oriol chose to change the lane and get behind Arnaud Liera, while Thomas Boussard took the opportunity and just got in the middle here also of the 2 of them, of Arnaud and Oriol.
Great transition from Thibaut Anselmet, who's put himself up in the reckoning there, but it is Lieta of Switzerland who is in front at the moment. The Frenchman pushing hard. That is a magnificent sight.
Impressive.
Unless you're at the back.
Impressive foot bar from Thibaut Anselmet. She got from the transition outside the transition super fast. He has done a very good foot bar very fast, and we see him now in second fighting with Thomas Boussard. And Oriol Cardona, that I don't know if he has had any problem, but he's a bit behind, and we are not used at all to see Oriol that far behind.
It seems to be between these 3 at the moment as they head into the final transition. The 2 Swiss first into position. And there's not much between them. Lieta Boussard of Switzerland, Anselmet of France. 3rd quickest into the transition. Can he make up any time on the downhill? But it is Arnaud Lieta leading the way. Just needs to negotiate these bumps and ride out those kickers. Anselmet is closing a little, but will it be close enough? 1 and 2 for Switzerland as it stands. Anselmet is 0.9 off the pace, so we'll wait for confirmation about whether that is fast enough to make it through to the final. But yeah, disappointment for Cardona, who we would have expected to progress to the final.
Yes, it's very strange to don't see Oriol in a final, because even if in a sprint race everything can happen, Oriol, it's one of those athletes that we see him in almost every final. So let's see if something has happened to him, or he just didn't had his best day. But yeah, it's very strange, in fact. And we have Arnaud Lieta on the other side, that he has won the semi-final and won also his heat on the quarter-final. Super clean wins, strong wins, and a serious contender to win the final too. So let's see. We have the 2 sides of the coin with Arnaud and Oriol. So this is the racing, this is the sprint race, and this is racing. Some days you have your day and everything goes smooth. Some days something happens, and in a sprint race that it's such a short amount of time and so many transitions in between and so many technical moments. If you don't have your day, it's very difficult. With the level we have on a sprint race, it's very difficult to move forward to the next heat, semi-final or final.
Yes, and time penalties can be very, very, very costly in this sport, as we may well see when we see the lineup for the men's final. But we'll, as I say, wait for confirmation for both semi-final results. And just softening the knees to ride out the bumps, using them as shock absorbers to roll over. Don't want any unnecessary air to try and land those skis, which are not designed primarily for downhill competition.
Exactly. We have to think that in ski mountaineering, in all races in all disciplines, there's much more time going up than down. So skis are made to be light uphill, to be able to go fast, very fast uphill. And then also, for sure, brands have worked a lot to make a ski that can be also good for downhill, but for expert skiers, as the athletes we see here.
And the weight of the skis, because we're talking about the sprint competition here, it's going to be the Olympic discipline, but we also have vertical and individual competitions, and the skis are, it's important that they're light for each different discipline that we have, but the skis are primarily designed so that they can handle being carried, being able to cover rough terrain, and to be able to manage the downhill once the skins come off as well.
Yeah. So the skis is a very important part. Skis and boots is a very important part of a ski mountaineering athlete, because, as we were saying, in all disciplines you have a lot of time going uphill, and so you have really to make sure that you can go uphill lightweight. It's different to have more weight on the backpack than on the foot, because the foot it has more distance to the center of the body. So every gram on the foot, it's harder to carry than, for example, on the backpack. So brands have worked really, really hard to get super strong, like super developed skis to be light up when you go uphill, and still that you can go downhill for sure.
So here we go. We have got confirmation of both the men's and the women's finals, and time penalty picked up by Inigo Martinez de Albanos means that he doesn't progress through to the final.
Oh,
but we will come to the men's. We'll find out. I see he's our little penalty board shows a 1 minute penalty, so that will be something he did or didn't do, and the jury has spotted it. So we'll focus on the women's final now, with Emily Harrop of France striding out into position, the 27-year-old, joined by Mariana Jegorčíková of Slovakia, 39 years old, looking to represent her country at the Olympic Games, as is Marianne Fraton, the sprint queen from Switzerland, Tatiana Palla of Germany. What a great transition from track cycling she's made. It's been ski-moing for 4 years now, 5 years nearly. Celia Perala-Pessé, 27 years old. Never rule her out. And Lena Bonnell. So we have 3 French women in the final of the second round of the ISMF sprint competition in the World Cup. And we are almost ready to go. It's gold, silver and bronze from here on in. If you are just joining us, ski mountaineering, you have to earn your downhill by getting to the top of the mountain first. It's a 60-meter vertical climb, and they're starting at 1,440 meters, heading to 1,500. The final of the women's sprint competition in the ISMF World Cup, second round from Shahdag in Azerbaijan. And it's a strong start by Marianne Faton of Switzerland in the right on the red, and Mariana Jegorčíková, who's decided she wants to go out from the front in this race.
Here is where you have to give everything you have left. Here is where you have to give it all. So Mariana, that has done a very good start. Let's see if she can keep it until the end.
A familiar course now for our athletes who've come through qualifying, the heats and the semi-finals, and treading familiar ground as the Slovak, the 39-year-old, leads the way and gets to the turn first with Lena Bonnell in France in the second place, and that's Emily Harrop, who's gone high on the turn. But first with her skis off is Jegorčíková. What a great race so far for her. And just how tired are those legs? How is the lactic acid building up at this point?
A lot of acid lactic in the legs. Let's think that they have done a qualifier round, quarterfinal, semi-final and final, and any of the rounds is easy, and in all the rounds you have to give your best. So I think that they are pretty tired, but giving everything they still have, and I think that they are giving their absolute best on this last final.
Never a surprise to see Emily Harrop first out of the transition, the 27-year-old. Overall world number one in 2024 is being chased by the sprint queen of Switzerland, Marianne Faton, now, who's moved into second place. And we can see Jegorčíková is using her poles to try and move up into a medal position. But it's France 1 and 3 at the moment, with Switzerland in second place. Marianne Faton, Célia Perriat-Pessé through to the final as a lucky loser. But it's Harrop who begins the descent first.
Very, very, very fast transition from Harrop, as all the transitions she does. She's very clean and very fast, and this is very important for a sprint. So excellent race from Emily Harrop.
And we see her tucking to get as much speed as possible. Not a worry about who's behind her now. She just checks to see her margin of victory. The arms go up, the celebration starts, and Emily Harrop has won again. Marianne Faton of Switzerland comes through to take second position. And it's Célia Perriat-Pessé of France in third. All three of those athletes absolutely delighted with their performance, as is Marianne Jegorčíková with a big hug for the victor. Emily Harrop, how often have we seen that beaming smile on this side of the finish line, Mireia?
We are starting to see her smile quite a lot because she's very strong in very different disciplines. So it's one to follow for the Olympics, that's for sure. And Célia Perriat, that she's done third. She has done an amazing race also. At the start she was quite behind, and step by step she has been progressing, moving forward positions, and she has finished third. Célia, that she had been lucky loser on the quarterfinals and semi-finals, and now she's on the podium. So amazing also the race of and the day and the morning of Célia Perriat-Pessé.
And it's not a strategy that you would necessarily deploy by rights, but potentially saving a little bit for the final by not being in the first two. But you do have to guarantee that you're going to make it to the latter stages of the competition.
Exactly, and that I think that it's not a strategy made on purpose, but everything went really well today for Célia on that sense. And what we also said just before that for Mariana, she had a very strong start and a very difficult finish. At the end of the day, even if a sprint race it seems short, it can be long for the athletes if you don't manage the effort super well. So Mariana had a very, very strong start until the foot part, also the foot part. And then from the foot part, another race starts, and we've seen many changes from the foot part to the finish line. And I think that we will also see this in the men's category. Let's see, but I think that we can also see this on the men's category.
Well, it's great to see spectators enjoying the sunshine in Shahdag. It's the first time we've seen a World Cup competition in Azerbaijan, so it's all new. A little bit tricky for some people to get to, bordering Eastern Europe and Western Asia, but a beautiful part of the world. And another one to add to the list of countries visited as we get to the podium and welcome our winners. Emily Harrop will be there imminently, but a big hug between these two. There we go. We hear her introduced by our race announcer and hugs for her teammate as she stands in the middle. Another photo for the Instagram page, and boy, these athletes do give us some great content on social media to follow. I think my favourite was midsummer, watching the world's largest running machine with our athletes strapped, basically having a secure harness to make sure they don't fall off while they're walking on the highest incline in their skis. It's the skis and very little else that you would see in racing because they're in a very hot gym. But yeah, I urge you to follow the ISMF's Insta feed and our athletes' Insta feed, because it will blow your mind how fit our athletes and competitors are. I think it's a different level from most sports.
Totally. Ski mountaineering, you need to be a very complete athlete. You have to go uphill, downhill, sometimes not in good conditions. So they are very, very fit, all of them.
Shahdag, Azerbaijan, for the first time in the World Cup races. Another victory for you after France at home at Courchevel. A great victory on these slopes in Azerbaijan. Congratulations, Emily.
Yeah, thanks very much. I'm super happy with today. You know, there was a bit of time between Courchevel and now, so it's good to see that the form is still good. It was an interesting course today. The girls were really strong. The final, it started off really hard, and I kind of thought, oh my god, I'm not going to keep up with this pace. And I was able to kind of dig deep, so that was cool. But yeah, it was another good one today, so I'm super chuffed.
Super as usual.
Yeah, I don't know if as usual, but we'll try and stay as good as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know how that translates into French, but super chuffed means that she's very, very pleased with her day's work. A great victory for Emily Harrop. That's her second of the season after victory in Courchevel.
Incredible start for Emily Harrop.
Yeah. And from a tactical point of view, she really did time her attack very well.
Yeah, I think that she knows herself very well. She has a lot of experience, so experience it's always an advantage here, because you know how you can manage the race. You know yourself, and you know your strengths, and you know how you can manage the race at the best. We see that on the start she stayed a bit behind, and then on the foot part she did her move, and it was perfect. I mean, from the foot part to the finish, she only got seconds and seconds.
4.3 seconds quicker than second place. That is really quite something when we're looking at this quality field. But that's it for the women's competition in Azerbaijan. Now the small matter of the men's. And we'll cast our eye towards that as the sun edges up the mountain and the day's skiing creeps on. Time in Azerbaijan, it is +4 UTC, so 4 hours ahead of UTC or GMT, Central European time. That's +3, isn't it? This is where my numbers let me down, but I know we're just about ready for the men's race. There we go. And it is the final. And a quality lineup once again. We have the brothers Robin and Thomas Boussard, Thibault Ensommet of France, Ott Ferrer of Spain, and then another 2 Swiss, Arnaud Lieta and John Kissler. So 4 Swiss athletes in this men's final.
Switzerland that is doing also a really great job with their athletes on the sprint races. We can see it here, 4 of them in the final. And Inigo that got out of the final for a penalty for a mistake in the start. So 1 minute penalty on a sprint is a lot. We see that they get through finish line super close. So 1 minute penalty means that usually it means that you don't get from the semi-finals to the finals.
Game over. Yeah, it's not a time you're going to make up in a sprint, but it has been sizzling competition, and we've seen all elements of ski mountaineering, the sprint discipline, the chosen discipline to showcase the sport when it makes its debut in Italy at the Olympic Winter Games of Milano Cortina next year. And this is the first of the Boussard boys, Robin Boussard, number 8 on his leg. That's how we're going to tell them apart. Arnaud Lieta with the black helmet. That's a confident stride. And John Kissler, another one of these next generation ski mountaineers, 21 years old. I really wouldn't want to be choosing the representative for the Olympic Games from this fantastic contingent of Swiss athletes. Thomas Boussard with the number 39. That is Thibault Ensommet of France, 2-time overall World Cup champion. And completing our setup, Ott Ferrer of Spain. 4 Swiss, a Frenchman and a Spaniard will go for glory in Azerbaijan.
I'm going to say an obvious thing, but it's a very strong final.
It's what we wanted. We wanted it to be fought on every possible quarter. And the stage is set. And we've got the podium from the Lausanne Youth Games in this race as well, because both the Boussard brothers and Ott Ferrer competing at the Youth Olympic Games in Lausanne in 2022. So brand new faces in the sport. And there are some older, I mean, we're not talking much, competitors. Thibault Ensommet, 27, Lieta, 26. I don't think they'd class themselves as the old boys, but the young guns have lined up alongside them and are looking for their own moment in the limelight. The race is on for the medal in the second round of the ISMF sprint competition in the World Cup series. Oh, just a ski caught by one of the Bussard boys there. I think it might have been his brother who stood on his ski, but we've got a breakaway of 3 at the front.
Something has happened here.
There was a couple of skis caught, I think. There was a... Robin Bussard was held up slightly by something that happened behind him, but it's Arnaud Lieta. He's the first Swiss and the first man to make it to the zigzag. Robin Bussard just a 1.6 seconds behind him into that transition zone. Then it's Otfera of Spain. And then the other 3 have a lot of ground to make up if they are to change the standings on the podium, because we could be looking at the top 3 in shot on this footpath.
And these difficulties on the start line, because I think that there were 2 of them that had some problems. It has been really good for Arnaud Lieta, Romy Bussard and Otfere that have been able to open a bit of gap with Thibaut Selmet, Thomas Bussard and John Kiesler.
Well, it is a battle of the Swiss. Lieta and Bussard. Number 2, Arnaud Lieta in the front, into the transition zone first. And Robin Bussard doing what he can to try and find a fraction of a second to get him on a par. That is a great transition from the youngster.
Wow.
But the Swiss sprint champion, it looks like Lieta has this in the bag.
Yeah, it seems an amazing Bussard and Ott in third. Ott that was a lucky loser also in quarter-final and semi-final. So let's see if he can keep also the 3rd place.
Just a little bit of caution negotiating the final part of this slightly tricky downhill section, and Arnaud Lieta celebrates as he crosses the line. And that's jubilation from Robin Bussard, just 0.8 of a second behind. And as you say, the lucky loser, Otfera, seeing off Thibaut Anselmet to take 3rd place on the podium. But that's Arnaud Lieta of Switzerland who wins round 2 of the World Cup. Actually looks out of breath for the first time in competition today.
Arnaud Lieta that has had the perfect day. He has made it look easy, winning the quarterfinals, the semi-finals, and now the finals. But it's a big effort.
And taking a pause for breath. Nice to see such great sporting spirit amongst these men. John Kiesler looks a little disappointed. Something definitely didn't go to plan in his race. Shake of her head, but congratulated nonetheless by his teammates.
And first podium for Otfere in a senior World Cup, Spring World Cup.
That explains that glowing smile on the Spaniard's face. 22 years old, from Berga. He was 3rd at the Youth Olympic Games in Lausanne. And he'd like to add a senior Olympic Winter Games medal. Let's just confirm the results of the women's race. Emily Arup, her 2nd win of the season, coming home ahead of Marianne Faton of Switzerland, and Celia Perrier-Pesset taking 3rd place in a quality women's event. And the men's sees Arnaud Lieta top spot on the podium ahead of Robin Bussard, who pushed him, the youngster, and a senior podium for the first time for Otfera of Spain. And we will hopefully hear from our winner very shortly. as the athletes just make sure that everything is where it should be and ready to go back in the bag for the journey home. The next World Cup event for the ISMF competitors is at Aransal in Andorra at the end of January. Big smile from Ott Ferrer. He's a happy man, Maria.
Yeah, he can be. He can be. Last year, I think that last year he was mainly on the semi-finals. This first World Cup of the year in Courchevel, he got on the final, and now a podium. I mean, I think he's very, very happy.
As is Arno Lieta, our winner in Shahdag, Azerbaijan. Those pictures never get old. And valuable points. And as we've mentioned, I mean, there were 4 Swiss athletes in that men's final. Only one of them will be representing his country. Only one Swiss will represent his country in the men's competition in Italy. So it may be easier to win the Olympic Games than it is to actually qualify for some of them.
Totally, totally. There are some countries that, it will be more difficult. Also, for example, Spain, Inigo qualified for the final, Ott is in the final, and Oriol, he won the first Sprint World Cup and has many, many wins on the sprint. So there are some countries that it will be tricky to select one athlete to go to the Olympics.
Arno Lieta, the winner in Shahdag, Azerbaijan. Fantastic race from the beginning to the finish. It was not easy in the final. 4 from the Swiss team.
Yeah, it was a really hard race today. It was all so tight. Everybody was so close together, and to have a final with 4 Swiss guys, it's brilliant, and yeah, we can enjoy it.
So after the second place in Courchevel, a victory here, good news for the coming up season.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really happy with the season so far, and I hope I could keep going like this, and yeah, we'll see the next race.
Congratulations, good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, perfect start to the season for Arno Lieta. 2 victories from 2 races. And this was, as he said, another tough final. I'm getting a little look to see what was happening. There we go. Just a bit of a stop in the diamonds.
Yeah, he lost his skin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what happened at the back of the field, but it was all go at the front. A breakaway by our top 3. And Arno Lieta led from the front. And despite being pressed hard by his countryman, Robin Boussard, he was able to maintain that advantage all the way up to the 1,500-metre summit, staying strong in this foot part before enjoying the sweet release of a downhill and just taking care not to be caught out by any errant bumps or kicks. It's not the prettiest, but it's the most effective way when you have ski mountaineering skis on, riding over the rolling over the bumps.
Super light ski mountaineering skis. It's not the most beautiful, but you said it. You put it really well.
It's I think until somebody tries that with those skis, they will appreciate the skill in staying upright. Maria, it has been an absolute joy working with you today. What's been your highlight of the competition?
Wow, my highlight, I would say Celia and Ott, both lucky losers on quarterfinals, lucky losers on semifinals, and both getting into the third stage of the podium. For me, that would be the highlight of the day.
Well, that's why ski mountaineering is so exciting to watch. First 2 places don't always guarantee you a spot in the final if you pick up a time penalty as well. So it is just a real test of endurance, of strength, of tactics, of strategy, of understanding the conditions and understanding how to use equipment to the full. And it has hopefully been an eye-opener for those of you watching ski mountaineering for the first time, that you will rejoin us for the rest of the competition. We've got Aronsal coming up at the end of the month in January. That will be the next World Cup sprint competition, but there is still plenty of action to follow in the ski mountaineering world. If you have a little look on the various websites, but the ISMF.com is the best place to go for the schedules and the results of all the action that's happening around the planet. And it is, as we mentioned, a very important year. It's the first time athletes will be qualifying their countries to compete at the Olympic Games, and there are very, very few places available.